Hi everyone, my name is Nitya, and you're at my Flosstube channel, Daybreak Stitchery. This is a channel all about cross stitch, solely cross stitch today, sometimes crochet and very rarely knitting. It's the end of the month, which is when I usually just check in and say hi and show you some things I've been working on. We have tons to talk about today, so I think I may just get into it and see where we go. Okay, I have a couple of finishes. There's going to be a lot of craftivism chat today, as you can imagine. This has been a month. It's been, do you know how my month started? I was at a neighborhood gathering, and I met a woman who volunteers with the, right, you know, we're having a situation in the Chicago area with like busloads of migrants being sent here from Texas, and so the city and surrounding cities are mobilizing to try to help people. So I actually met a volunteer who's been working with Venezuelan migrants and hearing all kinds of horrific stories, and that was, I feel like that set the tone of the whole month because then like I'm dealing with a whole bunch of issues at my school. I'm a high school teacher, and my school is like a little microcosm of everything that's going on. So like I had students come talk to me about some bullying against their friends who were queer. We have an issue with queer students being bullied at my school. So there's a team of us teachers who are trying to speak up about it and get some things in place to create safer spaces. And then, you know, Palestine is happening right now. We're going to talk about that right off the bat. So it just feels like it's been a barrage of having to stand up and speak up for things that are going on locally in the community, but that are also globally connected. And it's been a long month. It's been a long month. Shall we get started? I want to, so maybe talk, some of the stuff will be craftivism minded. I talk about some crafts and social justice things sometimes too. Not all of it will be, but some of it will be, because that's just the month I've lived. That's been my month. That's what I've been talking about and thinking about and talking up and speaking up for all month. So first thing I'm going to show you is this little guy here. This is Handela. He's a cartoon character who's kind of a symbol of Palestine. And this is a freebie called Tatreez Revolution. And it's put out by, hang on, I have the list of designers. There's a list of 4 Palestinian designers who collaborated to put this out. And it's Lena's, though, I'll link everybody below. I'll put their Instagram accounts below so you can look them up. Lena's Thobe, Tatreez NT, Ed B. Tatreezi, I'm not sure how that one is pronounced, and then Baden Collective. So the 4 of them came together and created a freebie, and what they're asking, so Palestine has a very rich cross-stitch tradition called Tatreez. If you've seen my channel before, I've talked about it before. And they are asking all of us stitchers to stitch this in solidarity with the genocide that's going on right now. So please consider doing that. The cultural community is asking for our help in just solidarity, showing solidarity and showing awareness of what's going on. So if you go to any one of their Instagram profiles, they're all linked below. I think I got it from Tatreez NT, actually, from their, you know, in their profile, they have links you can click on. You can download the free pattern. And then there's a lot of description of what Handela is all about. Basically, Handela is there's a cartoonist, a Palestinian cartoonist, who drew this little boy, and it's supposed to be him as a 10-year-old, because that's when he was forced off of his native lands. He and his family were forced to leave when he was 10. So he draws this little boy as a 10-year-old, and he said, the cartoonist has said that he will always be drawn as a 10-year-old until he's able to return back to his lands. So that's what this is. So this fabric, it's a freebie that I picked up from Sarah, Miriam, and Julie when I was with them this summer. So I'm not sure what it is. Maybe one of the 3 of you can tell me if you remember who I got this from. And it looks like an 18 count Ada. It's really pretty. The background of this freebie is actually charted in like different purples and pinks. It's supposed to be a sky. So I thought this fabric would go well with that. So please, please, please consider stitching this, but also more. You got to do more. Like, I hope everyone who's watching me, I think I've got some new viewers, so this all might be new to you, you know, that I talk about this kind of stuff. I talk about hard stuff sometimes because you have to. I feel like my international friends, I don't know if you feel like this in your countries, but in the United States, I kind of feel like we're a dysfunctional family. Do you ever get that, fellow Americans? Do you ever get that feeling that like we've had like generations of family here, our national family, that have just been violent and been okay with using aggression to get what they want. And then in every generation, I feel like there's people who've stood up, all of these upstanders over time who've been the members of the family who've been like, let's do it differently. Let's talk about our trauma. Let's talk about this terrible thing that happened, and let's try to get past it. And I feel like there are lots of members of the family who just kind of look at those upstanders and think like, why are you rocking the bow? What's going on? Just kind of be quiet. We're doing okay, you know? So I feel like we've like had generations of this trauma, this like generational family trauma, because we don't talk about hard stuff. So I'm totally that in my real family too. I'm the one who always brings up stuff because we have generational trauma in my family too. I'm like, why can't we talk about this? Because I feel like that's how we process hard stuff, is by talking about it. I know like everybody's experiences are different and everybody are in different mental spaces to handle stuff, but my basic needs are met. So I feel strong enough to talk about, to stand up when things are not right. So I feel like if you're also in a place where you can stand up, please do that. So please contact your legislators if you haven't been already. Ask for a ceasefire. Please just like tell them you want to be like, we're so, our American dysfunctional family is so often not on the side of humanity. And I think we need to keep talking about why that is. And so stitching is great. Calling your legislators is even better. Please do that. If you don't know how to do, if you really want to do something like that and you don't know how, just message me. I've been doing this. I'm going to bring it up. It'll come up later in one of my other stitches, but I've been contacting legislators for a long time now, since 2016. So I know how to do it. I can help you do it. It's way easier than you think it is, and it makes an impact. Like, anytime you call, your voice is being counted. And when you write in also, but calls are good too. Calls are better, in fact. So please, please do something to speak up about this. I can't, I'm looking and I'm watching it all. I'm taking it all in. I can't turn away. And it's especially so for me because I have students, at the school where I teach, we have a large Palestinian population, and they are hurting. They are in pain right now. They're like watching extended family members being erased right now. It's really hard. So if you are, if you can muster up the courage to stand up, it's really important right now to stand up for everybody who's hurting anytime. I hope we can do that. If you see harm and hurt in your community, I hope we can stand up to that. Okay. There's going to be more of that coming up in this video, so I don't know how people feel about that. I mean, you'll unsubscribe if you don't feel up for that, but okay. So shall we talk about this? This was a great freebie by Shazida, who's Ancient Sage Designs. And she came up with this lovely freebie. I didn't use the called for colors, but it's basically, I tried to match from Stash, so it's almost identical colors. And it's an initiative to raise awareness about, during this time of year in North America, it's migration season, so birds are migrating. And in our big cities, I'm outside of Chicago, in big cities, the lights, like nighttime lighting can be deadly to birds that are migrating. So this was just a kind of an awareness campaign that Shazida started, and it definitely got me looking more into this happening in my area too. So thanks, Shazida. This was a great idea. And maybe you can look at this as well, stitch it up, and then do some research on how does nighttime lighting affect migration patterns in your area too. And yeah, something for us to think about. And I think these are easy solutions. We can talk to our neighbors and talk to, organizations in our community that maybe leave their lights on at night and think about how that can change too. It's easy ways to affect change, you know, in your community. Okay, I'm going to pause there. I'm going to pause every couple pieces and get a bit. I have a really good cup of coffee today, so I'm going to take a sip and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have one more finish. I actually made 2 of them. I loved this pattern so much. Let me fold it up so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so this is also a freebie, and this is by Cozy Cabin Stitching, and it's Vote. And the original pattern is a called for, it's, well, I won't remember the colors. It's DMC, but it's 2 shades of blue and a red. And I changed it. I stitched another one. I have 2 of them. And I changed it to orange and these 2 greens, like a kind of a teal green and a dark green, because those are the colors of Kina Collins, who is a person who's running for House of Representatives in my district. And she's running against someone who's been in office since 1997 and who is someone we're not happy with. So we're really excited. I've heard her speak. She's super engaging and inspiring, and she is definitely like a voice of hope right now for our local community, which is really great. So I used her campaign colors, and I made one for me and one for her. So I'm gonna, I have little frames that I can put these in. So once I get them framed up, I'll take one over to her and I'll leave one here. So Allie, Cozy Cabin, this is just an awesome pattern. This was so fun to stitch, and I want to stitch like a whole bunch more now. It's beautiful, like the lines and how the weaving works on it. It's so pretty. I wish there was like a whole alphabet. I would buy, Allie, I would buy a whole pattern of alphabets like this. I love it. If you design that, I would buy that pattern. And what is it on? It's on a, isn't this pretty? It's kind of a pretty lightly modeled fabric that's that I got from Alicia, dear Alicia, who's Resist Stitch. She, at some point, maybe last year or the year before, she sent me a bunch of her Picture This Plus fabrics, like different sizes that she wasn't using anymore. So I've been working on those. And so this is one of them. So I have no idea what this is. I know that Picture This Plus makes a kind of a lightly modeled purple fabric. I think it's called Sprite. So it could be that. It didn't have a label, so I'm not sure what it is. And you can see a little bit, like I think Alicia started something on here maybe. So I'm stitching around that. But yeah, so this is really important. I do a lot of outreach for like getting people to vote, getting people out to vote. And this kind of feels, in a rare moment, this feels like something hopeful in a lot of ways. One, I don't know if you've been following in Georgia, there have been some really positive things happening with, there's been like a lot of gerrymandering and redistricting that creates inequitable situations in voting, and that's all being addressed now, which is great. And I guess the one thing I would say is that voting is just like the first step. I don't know how it is, international friends, I don't know how it is by you, but I think we have, like, people my age, we have this idea that voting matters and that that's our civic responsibility, which it totally is, but I don't think it stops there. I think we have to, once our legislators are like in office, whether we voted for them or not, I really, really believe that we have to keep in touch with them, like, all the time. We have this thing, so I'm a high school educator, and we have this observation that we've made where, like, the minute, if there are any teachers out there, or maybe other industries, I wonder if it's the same in like other service industries, but when there's a teacher that gets certified to be an administrator and they leave the classroom, we observe right, like, the second they are out of the classroom and no longer talking with students and working with students, it already feels like they're out of touch from like day one. So like administrators spend a lot of time sitting in offices, creating projects for like school improvement without talking to students. And then they get all of their information by talking to other people who sit in offices not talking to students. And they read books written by people who are sitting in offices not talking to students. So like they're just out of touch. And so a lot of like school improvement plans are created by people who aren't really talking to the people who matter, the kids. So I think my impression is that the same thing happens when our legislators get elected, even if we vote for them. I think they get like, they go to our state capitol or they go to DC and they just get like swept up in like everything, the everythingness of what's up there. And if they're not talking to us regularly, how do we really know that they're representing what we want? Do you know what I mean? They're representing us. So that's really important. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been writing to my legislators for a long time, since, like I said, since 2016. And actually one of the things that's really interesting, so I learned two things from it that I think are really powerful. So one is your legislators usually, like in Illinois at least, my senators always communicate back. So whether you write in or you call in, they ask for your email address. And then they always send you something back. So my senators usually with like, it could be anywhere between like 2 weeks to a month. They will send some kind of response to the issue that you've talked about. And when I say I'm raising issues, I'm just like writing 2 sentences or like calling and saying 1 sentence. Like I'm not, you know, you're just saying how you feel. It doesn't have to be like, I think people are afraid to call or write because they think they have to like provide an academic response or something. You don't. You just have to say how you feel about something, and that's it. And so my 2 senators, what I observed is that they write back pretty regularly, and it's pretty awesome because you get like a whole letter. It's usually a canned response letter that's related to the issue that you asked about. And you can see exactly where they say, like they spell out all, like any previous actions that they've taken about that issue and where they stand on the issue. So like sometimes, even if I voted for someone, we don't always agree on certain issues. So you can see that very clearly. When you get a response back from your legislator. So that's one reason why it's really important to reach out to them. You can actually see where they stand on different issues. And like there have been some issues where I haven't gotten a response back. And I think what that means is that it's not on their plate. Like they don't think the issue is important enough to have their staffers write that canned letter in the first place. So that says something to me too. It's like, why isn't this on your radar? If it's an issue that I'm calling you about and it's something that a community cares about, why isn't it on your plate? So that's one thing. Second thing that I observed is who doesn't respond. So my rep in the House of Representatives never responds, never sends a response, not even like no canned letters, nothing. And so after a while, you know, you're writing for like a year or two and you're like, this is weird, like nothing, you never get anything back. And then you start talking, I started talking to my neighbors who also had the same experience. So then there's like this collective experience of like, are we really being heard? What's this person doing? And then, so this person has gone uncontested for a long time. So Kina is now contesting them. And she grew up on the west side of Chicago, and she has done a lot of grassroots organization around gun violence prevention. So she looks at communities and looks at like all of the issues that contribute to someone turning to gun violence with no other option. So like, is there housing security? Is there, are people unhoused? Are there job opportunities? Is there food insecurity? Are there enough schools? Like all of these things that make a great community, she looks at that and advocates for that in all neighborhoods in our district. So I think she's awesome. And I think the whole idea of going beyond voting is so important. This is the first step. Please show up and vote for like local elections and things, but also contact your legislators, and just for your own curiosity, just see what, like, do they write back? What do they say? Where do they stand? It's a very eye-opening experience. Okay, can we talk about a moment of joy, pure joy? So this is out. I'm not following an order. I usually do like finishes, whips, new starts, plans, but this is a new start and I'm throwing it in here because it's on the same fabric as my bow patterns. So this is the very beginning of Relax, Relate, Release, which is a pattern by Nuri at Shaded Stitchery. And it's a quote from A Different World, which is a TV show from the 1990s, which I grew up on and I absolutely loved. It was one of my like deep in my heart, I have that show. It's just so fun and funny and beautiful. And so I thought this is the perfect month. Like, I'm struggling this month. This is the perfect month to stitch on something joyful. And then I actually started rewatching the show too. I usually skip season 1 and I go straight to season 2 because one of my favorite characters is Kimberly Reese on that show, and she starts on season 2, so I start with her. So I'm not using the called for colors. I've been stitching a lot from stash, so that's what I'm doing here. So this is, I actually want to point out some of the colors I've been using on some of these things. So back up for a moment. These were DMC colors, so DMC Blanc and 310, and then a red and a green. I think this is 666 and maybe 986 that I used from stash, and I just tried to match. I didn't have like called for. I don't think there were called for colors. I just pulled from stash and tried to match what was in the picture. On this one, I used, let's see if I can remember. The orange is 920. The red is 3777. Yellow is maybe 3829. Let me check. 3829. And then the gray is 413. And isn't that a nice gray? It's really pretty. It has kind of, like in some kind of lights, it looks sort of blue. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but I am going to do the new Modern Folk Embroidery stitch along that was announced yesterday. I don't even want to talk about it because MFE Sal's and I have a long history, but I'm kind of thinking about like a gray blue like this for one of the colors. Of course I've been thinking about colors, so that's on my radar. 413 is on my radar for that one. And then on my vote pattern, what did I use? The bright teal is 3812. The orange is, hang on, I'll tell you, 946. Isn't that a great, like a tangerine orange? And then the dark green is 319. And then on Relax, Relate, Release, I tried to use like 2 calming colors. This is a quote from an episode where one of the characters has gone to a therapist to sort out some issues, and it's a really funny scene. And so I was thinking, oh, like, you know, mental health and going to therapy and stuff. I was kind of going for like calm colors. So this is 340. Isn't that a pretty purple? Like a kind of blue violet sort of. And then this orangey color is 356, I think. Yeah, 356. So the original pattern calls for 3, like each word is in a different color, I think. But I just have them blend. I have 2 colors and then one is blending into the other, so. That. And Nuri is just on a roll, isn't she? Creating some really cool patterns. She has a new pattern out for Black Sampler November this month too, and that one looks really good. So yeah, I'm enjoying this one. I'm hoping to finish this next month because this, I only spent like a couple of nights on it. It stitches up really fast, and I might make another one. I'm gonna see how much. Let's see, this is gonna be release here, so it'll probably go up to like here. So I don't think I'll get to make another one here, but I'm going to make another one for my sister because she's a fan of the show too. I had gone over to visit my mom and sister, and I was stitching on this while I was over there, and she's like, what? There's a pattern for that? So she got really excited too. So maybe I'll make her one too. So that was on the same purple Sprite, I think it is. The same purple that I had Vote on. I'm using for that one. Okay. Now what? Oh, this is becoming kind of an old friend and a good kind of comfort stitching piece. So this is Trans Pride. Oh, I should have stitched this thread back so it wouldn't be hanging here. Trans Pride Tapestry by Dee's 20 Stitches. And it's on an 18 count Aida. It's Sweet Tea by Fiberlicious, Yummy Fibers. And it's using almost all the called for DMC on it. It's got, I'm a big fan of teal. If you know me, you know. And so I love all these different teals that are here. It's like the 3840 series, I think. And I'm basically using all the called for except for the unicorn's body, which I switched up to, I think it's DMC 778. Just because it's easier. The called for is a diamant, which is a little tricky to stitch with. And it's a lot of stitching, so I made some progress on this month. So this whole band right here I filled in. I'm working on the mane, basically. So I got part of why this project is so cool is because you can do it has a lot of outlines, and then you go in and do the filling. So I've worked in a lot of outlines. Like the mane is basically all outlines there. So now I just go in and fill in, which is really great if you're having like a rough day, like have been many a day this month. You know, you can go back in and just kind of do these easy fill-in stitches, and then it looks very striking. These big kind of color blocks of stitching. So I think I started some of this pink in here too to fill in. It's sort of like coloring. I was very much a color within the lines. I really enjoyed doing that. So this is sort of like that. So I will definitely bring this back and work on that. Yeah, it's just easy. It's like when you need a night of easy stitching, it's really great for that. And so all of this, like all these plant motifs, all of this will all be filled in, just like these, like this leaf up top. So all of these leaves will have like the double colors like that. And this, I love this flower, how it ended up filled in like that. So each of these like buckets of color, each of these buckets will be filled in with color here. And then there's some flowers that'll come in on the bottom. I think so. I think there's another border on the bottom. So we'll definitely keep that going in the loop. And then, what is this? This is Piece Wheel by Ink Circles. And it looks like this. And it's on either a dark umber or Canyonland. I think I don't know. I don't know what it's a color in cotton fabric, and I've forgotten what the color is. And I'm using DMC Blanc, and this is an Ink Circles pattern that's based on an Indian motif called kolam. In South India we call it kolam. In other parts it's called rangoli, and it's a kolam means like beauty, and I wrote this down, form. It means beauty and form. So it's meant to be geometric patterns. Like, I think what I read about it is that you like artists will put, so you use it's a rice powder or like a rice paste, and it's meant to be something that's edible by creatures. You put the decoration, you draw it outside your front door, and then it's supposed to be kind of feeding nature. It's supposed to be providing for nature. So it's an invitation for insects and little critters to have a little treat, to have something. So you start by putting spots down, by putting dots down, and then you have like these kind of equidistant lines that you draw a loop all around them. So a couple of these, I mean, this is not a true cultural pattern. Bits of it are. Like this whole thing is totally, like I've seen pictures from my grandma's house of this kind of thing. Like these little flourishes you'll recognize if you stitch on Ink Circles. She's put her own little flourishes on there too. So it's like kolam with a little bit of Ink Circles flavor to it. So I have reached, what did I do? Am I holding this up right? Yeah. So this right here is the midpoint. And then I'm getting there, like this, the bottom of these little sticks here is what's happening here. So the sticks will go out right here. So I'm approaching the midpoint here as well. I worked in this little area right here. So I didn't get very far, but I added a little bit. And there's a sequel to the pattern called Rangoli Lace, which I'd also like to stitch. So I'm just kind of chipping away at this one. It's really nice to have, monochromatic stitching is really nice. It's so easy not to think about colors. So it's kind of nice to have that. What else do I want to say about that? That's it. That's all I want to say about that. Okay. Next up is Farmhouse Christmas. And this is, I actually have some of the patterns for this. It's by Little House Needleworks. And this is a gift stitching for my friend Melanie. And so it's a 9-part series, but I'm only stitching 4 of the parts. So this is one bit that I'm stitching. What does it say? This is Cock-a-doodle-doo. And then Baba Black Sheep. And then Little Red Barn. Melanie loves barns, so I'm stitching this for her. Her birthday is coming up, so I was thinking I might try to get it done for her. And I don't remember what the last one is. The pattern wasn't with these, so I've misplaced it somewhere. But anyway, here, oh, it's this quilt block is the last one. So here's what it looks like. So I'm just stitching the 4, and I'm going to put it on one piece, and then since it makes a square, I think it should be pretty easy to find a frame to put with it too. So the red is Classic Colorworks Cherry Cobbler. This tan I think is like Pebble Beach. Some of it is the called for Classic Colorworks, but some of it I've put from stash. Like the Classic Colorworks, this all white is supposed to be, I think, Bamboo by Classic Colorworks, but when you look at it, it doesn't even look variegated to me, so I'm just using Blanc for that. And then like this green, I think that might be a DMC. The brown here I think is a DMC, and then the dark brown, I don't remember if I'm using called for or DMC on that. This fabric, it could be, I had a piece of Shrekie's tan, and I might have used it for this. I don't remember. I am real bad at organizing my fabric labels and stuff, and then I keep all my notes in a notebook. My notes are much better organized this month and orderly, but I usually just have like ramblings for notes where I put all my fabric information, so I need to one day just go through and like type up, I think, like what fabric I ended up, go through all my old notes and figure out what I used, because I never remember. And shall we talk about gifts for a second? Gift stitching. I have such a huge list of gift stitching to do. Basically, if I've ever interacted with you at some point, then I probably have a plan for gift stitching something for you. It's just so, like, I'm super slow at it. Like, I was supposed to have this done in May, and I didn't even work on it. I just get so distracted so easily. So it'll come at some point. But I received some Stitchy kindness, and so I wanted to show you a little bit of that. So dear, dear Ana Aguayo, we all know and love her. I've got her patterns. You're seeing the bottom of Tokapu here. And then Chimu Birds is here in the orange. It's probably hard for you to see. It's far away. It's in the dark. I love Ana. She's like one of the happiest, sweetest people I know. And she just sent me out of the blue a couple of really cute things. So she said she was inspired by, she really enjoyed some of the garden talk I did over the summer. And she made me this little monarch butterfly. Isn't it just the cutest ever? So this is a pattern. Hold on. She sent me the information. This is by Attic24. And the pattern is called Crochet Meadow Butterfly. It's super cute. Like, I like how the body has some texture here. So it looks like there were chains used maybe, and then the wings come behind it. Very cute. So I think I'm going to put a magnet on it on the back and put it on the fridge. So I need to get I have some strong magnets somewhere. I can glue it and get that up. And then she sent me this beautiful tiny watercolor. Isn't this just the cutest tiny watercolor you've ever seen? So this is all by Annie Leonardi, who I will link their Instagram info below in case you're curious. And it's called Huga Savannah, and it's an original watercolor. Oh no, this is so nice. I love I love watercolor. I used to do watercolor, so this is so cute. I was at Michael's, which is for my international friends, it's like a box craft store, and they have an entire wall of mini frames. They're like tiny, like 2x3 frames. So I'm wondering if this one I might frame and try to put like on my shelf, on my knickknacks shelf. If I can't do that, then I may also make this into a magnet. We'll see. I just love it. It's so cute. So thank you, Anna. I'm thinking of you too. And thinking of all of you wonderful Stitchy folks who I've met through Flosstubing. Super grateful for you. And if you're still here hanging around, thanks for doing that. Okay, let me take a sip of my coffee and then we'll come right back into it. Okay, are we ready for a little more? Oh, we haven't even talked about, I think I'm going to call this video October being a free-for-all, because I started everything. I was in many moments of emotional weakness this month, And I didn't even like think. I just grabbed fabric and started everything. So we have lots coming up here. Okay, I do have one more, at least one more. Yeah, I have one more whip to show you, which I really love this piece, and I ought to stitch on it even more. So this is, I'm taking Winter is Coming by Summerhouse Stitchworks, and I'm stitching all four. It's a 4-part series, so there's one for every season. So this Winter is Coming is the first one that came out. Spring Awakens, Summer Refreshes, and Autumn Provides. And they're all kind of these really cool, like, color blocky sorts of things. But I'm doing them all in DMC 310. I'm stitching them all 4 on the same piece, and not doing any color changes. So here's what it looks like so far. Doesn't look great. I really love it. And I barely did anything on this. I took this triangular border right here. I just brought it down further. I was like up here, and then I brought it down a little farther, and that's about the extent of it on this one. So I love it. I think, now what's this fabric? Don't know. Is it a Mystic Fabrics? It could be like a Mystic Fabrics, because I think they have this kind of heavy modeling like this. It could be Fiber on a Whim, and it could be Flax. Steve's getting excited up there. He's watching soccer. Needle and Flax. It could be a Needle and Flax. When I see this kind of heavy modeling like this, it reminds me of it's one of the 3 of them, and I don't remember what it is. But I think it works great with the DMC 310, doesn't it? It's really pretty. So I'm doing winter here. I've clearly gotten the farthest on that. Spring, and then summer is here, and fall will go in this corner. So it's really not that big. In the end, it won't be that big. It'll take up about like that much space. And there will be a lot of leftover fabric. So I will keep this out. I will probably do this for Black Sampler November. I have a new start as well. So I'll keep those out, and maybe if everyone's stitching on stuff with dark colors next month, this could be a good one for that, I think. I'm using 2 strands of DMC 310. I bought a cone not too long, sometime this year, spring or summer of this year, and I love it. And so now I'm just always looking for pieces to stitch in black, so this is one of them. So it creates like a nice thick coverage. This is a 36 count linen, and I think could be 40 count, and it just creates a nice thick coverage. And you can still see some of the details. Like, this is supposed to be a bird wearing a scarf, and you can still see the details on there, I think, so it should be fine. So yeah, I'll work on that a little bit more coming up. And should we talk about a new piece I started with DMC 310? This was in a total moment of weakness, because so Miriam is always creating something amazing, and this is let's just get to it. This is Biwas sampler, which is her bat sampler. And so how did this start? Because this was supposed to be a queued up sal. Remember when I started my own sal to try to control the number of whips and new starts I have, and I called it queued up sal, and I told myself to discipline myself by finishing one thing before starting another? That just like flew out the window this month. I have kept up nothing for queued up sal this month. This was supposed to be queued up sal for Afshan sampler, which I'm now getting kind of, I'm not so sure about the colors I chose for Afshan sampler, but I'm really far along on it, so I'll keep going on it. But I just couldn't wait. So I got to see Miriam this month. So I went to a guild meeting. I think I've been to 2 since the last time I talked to you, but this latest one was at the usual public library spot where they meet, and Miriam got to come. So I got to see Miriam, and Miriam should be making a video this weekend too, so you'll get to hear Miriam hear what she thinks about the guild. And they were really excited. They get really excited to have new members, because I don't think they have a lot of new members. And so like there's a member that writes a newsletter where where like part of the newsletters they do interviews with new members. So she was like she was on Miriam. She's like, I got an interview for the newsletter. But anyway, Miriam had her finish of Biwas sampler there, like sitting on the table where she was working, and I got to stare at it like close up, and it was so incredible. It's so beautiful. And so I think it's been like floating around in the front of my head, like, you're just gonna start it, just give in, you're gonna start it. So here's what I've got on it so far. Now, once again, I don't know what this fabric is. It could be I think it could be Stitch Me. I had a piece of S'mores by Stitch Me, so it could be that. But also, I think I picked up one of these fabrics when I saw Julie, Miriam, and Sarah for our little retreat that we did. So this could be one of the fabrics I picked up off the freebie table there. It could be something they're giving away. I don't know. I don't remember. So, gals, if you recognize this, let me know what if that looks familiar. Let me know about that. It could be. It feels kind of stiff. Sometimes the Adas from Stitch Me are a little stiff, so that's why I'm wondering if that's what this is. And I did at one time order a piece just like this called S'mores from Stitch Me, so it could be that one. Anyway, I'm loving it so far. It's really pretty. It doesn't look like much of anything yet. This is the top border. I started in the top center. So this, like this little border, there's a little border that's going to go across, which has this like arc pattern coming across. And then this motif is a border that's coming down this way. So this is like the intersection between the two. So that will be another Black Sampler November piece, which I'll be really excited to stitch on. Okay. Let's talk about all the new starts. There are a lot of them. I started everything. This is a pattern by the Witchy Stitcher, and it's called Sad Pumpkin, and it has a really cool border on it, like a black and white border, and then it just has this like pumpkin with a terrified face, which I feel like is appropriate for right now. So that's a freebie on the Witchy Stitcher's website, and earlier this month, was it on October 1st? I don't remember. There's a hashtag called Witchy Stitcher Day. There was a day this month that people were doing some dedicated stitching to the Witchy Stitcher. So this is what I started for that. Do I know what the fabric is? No, I don't know what the fabric is. It's my old piece wheel start is on it. So I know when I go back in my notes, I'll find it. But I don't know what it is. It could be, it kind of looks like color and cotton. And it could be like a, one of the golds, like sampler gold or something like that. Maybe. I don't know. So I've barely started anything on this. You can't really tell what's going on. But hope to be chipping away at that. I got a couple, Steve and I were at the thrift store. Our town does a, our town does a scarecrows competition. And we've been entering the past couple of years. So this year, you decorate a scarecrow and you put it out, and then passersby can like come look at them, and then you can vote. Our like village hall has a voting thing. You can go vote. So this year we did Moira from Schitt's Creek, and she in the series, like later on in the series, she gets a role in a movie called The Crows Have Eyes, and so we did her character from the movie. So we got like a lab coat and put black feathers all over it, and got her a wig, and I drew a face on like a bag to match her. And so, why did I bring that? What made me think of that? I don't remember. Maybe just getting into Halloween-y kind of stuff. So, anyway. So, the Witchy Stitcher. Yeah, that was a fun one. And that I'll keep... Oh! Thrift store. So, to get Moira, Scarecrow Moira, some clothes... Because her uniform in that movie, she's supposed to be like a scientist. So she has like a white shirt and a black tie and black pants. So we got all that at the thrift store. And so at the thrift store, I got some really nice like wooden pieces for finishing. So I'm hoping one of them, I kind of have my eyes set on finishing Sad Pumpkin. And like it's one of these, I wish I had brought it. It's upstairs. It's like a wooden, like a kind of shadow boxy frame. So it's like it's a really wide frame, like a 2-inch wide frame, square, that it looks like if I put this on, like if I were to put a stitched piece on mat board, I could like insert it into there. So I like finishes like that. That seems kind of easy. I have a trouble framing stuff, so I'm hoping that that piece will work really well for finishing. Okay, I'm gonna take another sip of coffee. Be right back. Okay, so back on the new starts train. There are a number of stitchers. The Megans from Long Distance Stitchers. I know Amy, you're doing this. Amy Graham. A whole bunch of people are starting Namaria Sampler. What's it called? Namaria Tapestry, I think, from Modern Folk Embroidery. And so, yes, I'm starting it too. I've had it kitted up, and I have two queued up Sal out the window. I have two Modern Folk Embroidery pieces that I'm supposed to finish technically before starting this. But in my, once again, moment of weakness, I just went ahead and started it. So I will have to put up a picture. In most of this video, I think I've been trying to put up I'll probably put up pictures because I don't have print copies of all the patterns. So I'll put it up here if I haven't already. And here's my start on it. So let's just talk about this dreamy fabric for a minute, shall we? This is by Jackson Fabric Arts. The colorway is Galway, and isn't it stunning? Isn't it so pretty? It's so vibrant. So this is not linen, it's hemp. So it is cross-stitch fabric. It's advertised as cross-stitch fabric, and it's woven like linen, so it looks just like linen, but it's made out of hemp. Very soft, very thick. It has a nice thickness to it. It feels amazing when stitching on it. I love it. I love stitching on it. It's a 3/2 count, which is mostly what she has in stock. I haven't seen her do any like smaller, like 36 count or 40 count, you know, smaller stitching sorts of fabric. But I'm using 2 strands of DMC. That's the lighter color here is 452. And I was experimenting with 646 at first, but I'm going to take all that out and replace it with this 452 because that looks a little bit more of a nice contrast to the dark fabric. But anyway, the 2 strands, that's very good coverage. I mean, it's exactly what I want. So, and it's so easy to stitch on because it's just easy to see. It's really easy to see for my tired eyes in the evening. I can get through quite a bit. So I'm very, very happy with this fabric, and I want more. I want to stitch on more of that. So yeah, I'll be looking out for that. I love the vibrancy of the color. I'm wondering, like, is that, you know, with the difference in materials, does it absorb dye differently? It's a question. That's a good question. There are bits that are much lighter, like there are pockets of much lighter, but look at how dark the dark bits get. So pretty. So this is supposed to be, the imagery is supposed to be inspired by, it's a Lord of the Rings piece, and the imagery is supposed to be inspired by the Kingdom of Gondor, and then there's supposed to be a quote in the middle by Galadriel, who's one of the elves. I'm leaving the quote out, and I'm only going to stitch the imagery. So there's like a band on the top, I think, that has horses. The horses will come in like up here, I think, so I'm going to stitch that whole band. I'm going to leave out the center, and then I'm going to go right into stitching the bottom band right underneath it. So it will be smaller than everyone else's, and that's okay. I need all the help I can get when it comes to finishing pieces. Although I do have, oh look, let me show you what I brought you to show you. I do have a lot more confidence in stitching modern folk embroidery pieces because of my finish from this summer. Guess what came back in the mail with a little bling with it? Did I show this to you already last month? My Birds from Bernard's books. I had sent this to the Illinois State Fair this year, and it won a blue ribbon. And then because I live far away from my state capital, I had to ship it in, so I wasn't sure what state it would return in, and it turned in great shape. It's just fine. And here's my ribbon. So very exciting. And you know what the funny part about this is? So a cool thing that happened, did I already talk about all this? This might be repetition. I can't remember if I showed this to you, because this actually came back like maybe last month or even late September or late October or late August. it's been back for a little while. So, where am I going with all this? Oh, this piece gave me a lot of confidence to stitch because it didn't seem really that hard. It was working up really fast. This is using DMC 221, and it's on, picture this plus truffle 40 count. And I used 2 strands over 2. So it's stitched up real quick. I mean, quicker than I thought for all this negative stitching. So it kind of gave me a little bit more confidence in actually being able to finish a modern folk embroidery piece. And then the cool thing is that on the ribbons, you get some feedback from, it's usually judged, the competition is judged by guild members. So guild members will write some feedback. So they usually write a lot on the back. But on this one, the comment was, beautiful work on the framing. Which is traditionally like my worst, I'm the worst at framing. I'm terrible at framing. Can I just tell you like how I did a terrible job framing this? I mean, it turned out okay, but do you know what's holding this piece into this frame? Double-sided tape. I'm not even kidding you. There's double-sided tape in here, and then on the back, like where the fabric wraps around, I double-sided taped that down. And it survived. That double-sided tape has held up through being shipped to our state capital and being shipped back to me. So I may just use more double-sided tape. Maybe that's my secret in all this. The way to achieve framing in a way that I've never been able to achieve before. So I just thought that was hilarious because I am so careless when it comes to framing usually. I did take some care with this one, but it's definitely the weakest part of my FFOing for sure. I'm not a big FFOer to begin with. I have like in front of me right here is a stack of like my finishes from this year. I'm terrible at finishing, fully finishing stuff, but I just thought that was funny. Okay. What's next? I started this one here. Did I want to say any? Oh, the Maria sampler is, there's a hashtag for it. It's a stitch along by the Megans. And by, you all will help me remember who all is coordinating this cell, but it's #1 stitch to rule them all. And a lot of people have started it. So you can use the hashtag and see what color choices and everything, what people are doing. Okay. We're going to talk a little more Tatreez for a second here. I started, what direction? This direction. Isn't this so nice? This is by a fantastic Palestinian designer named Ellie, and her designer name, I'll link it below, is Deco Ellie. And she has a shop on Etsy, and she designs beautiful, she is Palestinian, she designs beautiful pieces. Very intricate, enormous, like almost like mural-sized pieces. She has big ones, she has like smaller ones. This one came back, this one came from World of Cross Stitching magazine, January 2023, which is one of the best issues of any cross-stitch magazine that I've seen. I have multiple patterns in there that that I'm stitching on. Like one is Sky Dragon that I'm selling with Anita Violet Stitcher, which I haven't touched in like months. But this comes from that same issue, January 2023, World of Cross Stitching magazine. And this is fantastic because, especially with everything going on right now, it's really important to hear Palestinian voices. And so Eliane has, in the magazine article with the pattern, it's called Palestinian Patterns. And in the pattern, she has some nice little, like a library of different stitches and what each motif means. And then she goes into some of her, just talking about heritage, the heritage of Tatreez stitching. So it's very cool. I don't know what this fabric is, once again. It's probably a color and cotton. It has light modeling, so I think it might be a color and cotton. And I am using, let me tell you what DMC's. So I'm not using the called for colors. The called for colors are really beautiful. It's just like a whole different color, like a lot of different colors. It's a huge color palette, and each little bit has different colors used. I decided to go with 4 colors, 4 DMC colors, and I thought I would go with 2 greens and 2 kind of reddish pinks. So let me see what they are. The bright pink here is 326. The bright green here is 910. The, I don't know what we want to call this, more like less jewel toned and more just like natural green, like true green. That's 986. And then this deeper kind of reddish brown is 902. That's a beautiful red. Check out that 902. It's got like a tinge of pink and a tinge of brown in it. It's this one right here too. And this, so pretty. So I chose these colors because I have already stitched a Tatreez piece by Jordan Nasser. It was a free pattern by Jordan Nasser called Let's Tatreez. And on that one, I kind of got into the habit of doing certain things. When I was stitching on that, I was reading a lot about Tatreez culture and learning about Palestinian culture. Every time I picked it up to stitch on it, I would donate to my go-to for donations for Palestine is the PCRF, the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. That's the thing, like watching what's happening to every human being matters, but watching what's happening to the little kids, they're like the terrified kids seeing what's going on there. That's like piercing through me. I can't, it's so hard to watch. So, Palestinian Children's Relief Fund is where you can donate. And so whenever I would pick up to stitch Let's Tatreez by Jordan Nasser, I would always just give something. Like if it's $5 one time, it's $5. If it's $20 one time, it's $20. So whenever I picked up to stitch, I kind of told myself, you're going to do this. You're going to give back, because I was stitching someone else's culture. And it's a culture that's struggling right now. That's being attacked right now. So it just felt like beyond stitching, something more needed to be done, you know? So that was, and that one I stitched in reds and greens as well. So I'm kind of, this is sort of taking up the place for that. This is, I could count this as a true queued up sale, I think. I finished Let's Tatreez and this is the next one. So I'm using reds and greens. Same thing, I'm still donating to Palestinian Children's Relief every time I pick this up to stitch. And then, what else? Yeah, I have a whole, now because of everything going on, I have like a wealth of resources. So many people are sharing like books to read, videos to watch, movies to watch, to learn all about Palestinian culture. So there's plenty to watch and read while stitching on this one. A couple of other, so sometimes I worry when I stitch from other cultures, or when any of us stitch from other cultures, I'm kind of, there's like this little idea that I'm thinking there might be an American designer out there who's not Palestinian, who's thinking, that's great, maybe I could come up with a Tatreez pattern. And I just kind of feel like certain cultural patterns are just off limits. Like if you're not, this carries a lot. If you read anybody who designs Tatreez and read about the motifs and the cultural significance, there is a heavy cultural significance in this. So it's just not right for someone outside of the culture to design and make money off of these patterns. So if any of you are designers out there and you have that idea kind of brewing, please stop. Like this, what's better to do right now is to give voice to the truly Palestinian designers who are out there. So Deco Ellie is a great one. Tatreez Initiative is amazing. They're basically, I don't know if you've looked at their website, I'm linking them below. Their website, they're creating an online archive, going through old photos, old interviews, like research, looking at historical books, talking to people, and they're creating an entire library of motifs with all of the meanings, names and meanings with them. And the whole purpose of it is not for us, not us privileged people, although we can look at it too and learn from it. It's for Palestinian folks who don't have resources, who want access to free, high-quality images and patterns of stitching of their own culture. It's awesome. It's basically like an encyclopedia of stitching. So that's Tatreez Initiative. So I'll link them I'll have a whole section of stuff down below to link. So that's a good one to look into. And then Min Aman is a new one I found this month. A designer. She's Palestinian American, I think. She might live out west on the West Coast, but she's got some beautiful patterns as well. So you can follow her on Instagram, and I think she might also have an Etsy shop. And you might have others. Like I was trying to find Hiba Stitching, who used to have an Etsy shop and might still. And I remember seeing that they changed their name. They used to be like Stitching by Hiba, I think, and now their name has changed. So if anyone knows what she goes by now, let me know. But we have so many resources, Palestinian stitchers who are like putting material out there to share in terms of information. So we do not, American designers who are not of Palestinian heritage don't need to be designing stuff right now. It's not the time. It's not appropriate. It is officially not appropriate, and it's cultural appropriation. I would say, I mean, that's an idea that I learned from D's 20 Stitches, because I feel the same way about any identity that's under attack, any identity that doesn't feel safe right now. So queer community, for example, I don't really think it's okay for people to be designing and making money off of patterns that have to do with queer identity. I feel like that should be the community that makes the money off of it. Do you know what I mean? So I've as you learn, you kind of shape different opinions about this stuff, and that's just an opinion I've shaped about it. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, last, can you believe it? We're at the end. Last one is, this feels like it was ages ago, but at the beginning of the month, I actually got to Zoom with Miriam and Sarah and Julie. The Quad City Needle Minders got to Zoom together. And we started a SAL. So we all started our pieces together. So we are each stitching on a piece by the Artsy Housewife. The SAL is called Artsy Fartsy SAL, and you're welcome to join us. You just basically just stitch on any piece by the Artsy Housewife. And so I'm stitching on Golden Delicious. And there are two versions of Golden Delicious. One is for lighter fabric and one is for darker fabric. So I'm using the one for lighter fabric. This is on a 36 count. Let's just stare at this fabric for a second. 36 count Cinnamon by Bestitch Me. And it's a really pretty, like a deep pink, kind of a deep salmony pink. It's very nice. 36 count. So I'm using 2 strands over 2. And this is entirely from Stash. I just looked at the picture and chose colors that I thought would work well together and try to match the original picture. There are a lot of colors in it. There are maybe 10-ish, or maybe give or take a few. And check that apple. It's really great. So I will not be stitching. There's an enormous house in this one, and I don't like doing house stitching. It's way too much fill-in stitching, and I don't know. I've never been a fan of stitching houses. So of course, like in the original pattern, this crow is sitting on a house. So in here, of course, I'm going to have a quote. And I do not remember what the quote possibilities are. One is a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. and it's something about, how does it go? They're both apple tree quotes. So one is, even if I knew that the world tomorrow would be a disaster or something like that, I would still plant my apple tree today. It's something like that. Even if I know that tomorrow is going to be chaos or disaster, I would still plant my apple tree today. I have to look up exactly what it is, but that's one possibility. And then the other possibility, oh gosh, I came unprepared. I read about a really fascinating woman because I was looking for apple quotes. And there's a really fascinating woman. I will look her up and put her name down below. There's a woman who in the 1800s started advocating for Indigenous rights. She was not an Indigenous person, but she heard Indigenous people speak and talk about what life was like after being displaced here in the U.S. And she started publicly advocating for rights for Indigenous people. And she had a quote, not directly related to Indigenous rights, but she did have a quote about, she wrote poetry about the seasons, so she had an apple quote as well. So I may put her quote on here. I wish I had written down her name, but I'll put her name down below and then you can research who she is too. She was really interesting. Like, basically what I read about her was that we're coming full circle here, talking about upstanders. She was speaking up for Indigenous rights in a time where, like, nobody was listening. And she was speaking in spaces that were dominated by men and where they just kind of, the overall impression was that people were just very dismissive, that nobody cared about what she was saying. Oh, here's the crazy person coming to talk again. You know, it was that kind of attitude. But she kept standing up for what was right. So I may include her quote on this, but whoever I choose, somebody's quote will go into this piece for my inspiration wall. That's pretty much it. Plans. we're down to 2 months left, so I really want to try to finish something. I had an abundance of new starts today, which I really didn't want to do this late in the year, but here we are. So I'm going to try to finish. I'm going to go through and see if I can locate some of the like smaller projects that I started this year and just tackle some finishes. I don't know if I'm going to do, the past couple of years I've been finishing a cottage garden piece every December, and I'm not sure if I'm going to follow through on that this year, because if I have other finishes that are really close to finishing, I think I'd rather just tackle some of my smalls. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then Miriam and I don't have anything here in front of me to show you, but Miriam and I did a little collaboration. You know, normally the both of us are involved in the fundraiser. You know, a whole bunch of stitchers get together and fundraise for the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women, usually around this time of year in the fall. And this year the organizers are waiting till a little bit later to do it. And so I'd had this idea for a while where I wanted to kit up like cross stitch little packs and leave a whole set of kits to donate to the American Indian Center of Chicago. So it's like an organization to help a wide variety of indigenous folks that are in the Chicago area. And they have crafting groups. So they teach, open to anybody. Anybody can show up and go, even if you're not an indigenous person. So they do like beading, and I can't remember what else. But so I thought, oh, since we're not doing Coalition to Stop Violence this year, maybe I could kind of do this kit up project that I've had in my head for a while. So I reached out to Miriam and I was like, Miriam, do you think you'd have time to create like a little, just a teeny tiny small pattern that we could throw into that pack? And then I bought up all the materials. So I got Ada and like the 4 or 5 colors that Miriam chose for her teeny pattern. And then I cut up pieces of Ada so that each kit could have 2. One to stitch Miriam's pattern and then one to design their own pattern, and some like graph paper to do designing on, and a needle. I think that's it. So anyway, when I saw Miriam at the guild, she got me her paper copies of her pattern. So I just have to like finish stuffing those kits, and those will get delivered sometime this month. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to share like a little cover letter. I was thinking like, the whole purpose of this is, one, to like share crafting with another community, another creative community, but also the idea of like passing along an opportunity to share their voice, because we don't really have, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if I don't know of any like North American Native or Indigenous stitching designers. And I just thought that idea would be interesting. Like, what would we see if we gave the materials to this community and they knew that this is a way to express their voice creatively? Maybe nothing will come of it, but maybe something will come of it. And I was just curious about that idea. So, yeah, so we'll be delivering those kits. There are a lot of native patterns designed by non-native people, which you can probably guess how I feel about that. But anyway, so we'll see. So I'm going to leave, like Miriam, well, Miriam, I have to check with you, but I'm going to leave my Instagram info, like with the kits. So if anybody like wants to tag us or something, if they actually stitch or design something, that'd be kind of cool to see what they do with that. And then I was also going to see if they want us to just come and do like a little stitching circle or something with them, or I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't want to, take up space in their safe space, you know what I mean? Like a space that's dedicated to them, if that's not what they want. So anyway, we're going to think about that and see how that goes. But 2024 Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along, I'm doing it. I don't know what colors I'm going to use. I kind of like Jacob sent like all these colorways for it, and I kind of like the one, it's like the 2nd or 3rd one in the series that has like that grayish blue and like a yellowy brown. That's sort of what I'm leaning towards, but you know how I feel about this. I get very struggle with putting colors together when it comes to those big patterns, but we'll see. Okay, that's where I leave you today. Thanks for hanging around. If you're still here, thanks for hanging around. I really hope you'll start like kind of set the new routine of getting in touch with those legislators whenever you got a beef with something, and maybe if enough, I saw, there's a meme that I shared in my stories this morning, and it was something like, my little voice can't do anything, said 7 billion people. So if everybody kind of turns away and says like, I don't know, what's the point of me saying something? That's a lot of people not saying something. So maybe we can all stand up and say something. Okay. Happy stitching, everybody. Thanks for being here. And I hope to chat with you soon. Bye.